So we're in chapter 14, market structures. And market structure refers to the competitive environment in which you're doing business. So basically, it is the roof that you are operating your business, your firms under. So basically, you should make your pricing strategy and output decisions according to where your firm is situated. And there are several questions that you need to answer. Do you have lots of competitors? Only a few strategic opponents, or no opponents at all? Do you expect the new competitors to enter your industry and try to steal market share? Are your products exactly the same as those competitors, or are you offering high quality or differentiated products or better services? So based on your answer to those questions, there are different level of market power your firm occupies, and it also determines the market structure your firm is. So the market power is defined as the extent to which a seller can charge a higher price without losing many sales to competing business. That's why previously we introduced inelasticity, and I emphasized the importance of this to the operation of business. So basically, if here, this illustration of market power is to say, if your consumer is more inelastic to the products of your firm, right? Or namely, more loyal, more addicted to your products, then you have a stronger power. Because even if you charge a higher price, you're not going to lose many of them, right? That frees you up to overprice your product to make a higher revenue and hopefully to make a higher profit as well. So there are two sub-scenarios. If you are the only gas station in town, then you have some market power. You won't lose many consumers if you increase your prices. Not many people will drive to the next town for slightly cheaper gas. So basically, this is the first one. They have no other choice, so that they have to be dependent on your product. So that's the first one. It is actually one situation where consumers are inelastic in your product. They have no options. And remember, elasticity comes from how many alternatives do you have, right? So that's the first one. And the second one, if you are one of four gas stations at a busy intersection, then you have almost no market power. Your customer will buy their gas elsewhere if you raise your price even a little. That is when your gas station doesn't differ too much from other competitors, right? Other gas stations. But say if you offer special service, right? If you help them to fuel their cars, or if you offer free coffee, we see some gas station try to do that. What are they doing? They're trying to use a little bait to make sure that even though to those consumers there are four gas stations, even though there are existence of other alternatives, they choose you because you're different, right? So these are the two scenarios of creating inelasticity. And in the illustration of the textbook, this one is inelastic. The second example is elastic, where consumers have a lot of options. But in my discussion, even though consumers have a lot of options, we can still shape our products, differentiate, that's a better word, our product to create certain brand name. That's why brand loyalty is so important, right? So that to those consumers, even though there are many other alternatives existing, they ignore them. They're only loyal to you, right? So now let's look at those four market structures, okay? And the focus is really on understanding the market power, which is aligned on a spectrum, okay? And actually, as I just mentioned about, it is aligned on the spectrum of elasticity. That's why I adjusted the sequence of the class to have chapter 5 just ahead of chapter 14. So first one, perfect competition. Okay. That's the scenario where each firm has zero market power. Why is that? Because it is totally opposite to the creation and maintaining of reputation of a brand or whatever, or differentiation of product. Because here, all business in the industry sell identical product. So all the way the same. And there are many sellers and many buyers, each of whom is small relative to the size of the market, right? Like if you're walking on the street, do you really pay attention to the ants that are going around, right? Because there are too many. Those are too small. And think about them as business in the perfect competition market. Okay, and the result is businesses operating in perfectly competitive market. They have no market power, and each firm is a price taker. You have no negotiation power. You have no power to determine the price of your product. You have to conform to whatever the market price is, because there are so many alternatives. And as illustrated as this example, if you raise your price a little bit higher, what happens? You lose all your consumers because they can easily find some similar firm that can, or identical firm that can easily substitute to. Okay. So one example is gas station. And those gas stations are pretty much the same, right? If they are selling identical goods, and if there are many buyers and sellers, then you have no choice. Whatever this market determines the price, that's the price you have to conform to. And there is no reason to raise your price because you're going to lose all your consumers, since there are so many identical sellers across your shoulder. And there is no reason to lower your price, and that will first lower your profit margin, and second, probably arouse the concern, right? Since you're all the way the same, then consumers may think, is there a problem with your gas? So you want to voluntarily lower your price or whatever, right? So anyways, here you're taking the price as it is. And we're gonna talk about this later as well when we are looking at the graph. Okay. So there are several other examples of perfectly competition. For instance, agriculture markets, corn is corn. Now we're trying to differentiate them, firms trying to differentiate them for, free range, organic. But we are talking about the generic, veggies that you buy at Walmart, Smith, whatever it is, right? So you don't really look at the origin of those products. It's just what it is. Commodity markets, gold, oil, livestock. There are many sellers selling almost identical products. Stock market, there are many people selling stocks, and one share of Apple stock is the same as other share, right? Remember, the stock market is what we call second-hand market. So basically, after the IPO, after the initial publication, right? Then it has nothing to do with Apple. It's all owned by other seller, and it's other sellers selling their second-hand stock, and you're buying from them. And you don't care too much about who sells this, which broker deals this. What do you care about is the company that is associated with. So here it is talking about the broker, the people who are selling this, not the company. Okay, and that is perfectly competitive. And the other extreme case is monopoly. That is when there is only one seller in the market, and in that case, like this, right? You're the only one gas station in town. In that case, people have no other choice. They have to buy yours. And especially if they are inelastic, if what you sell is a necessity, right? Then consumers have to buy your product. And then you have a very strong market power. You're not a price taker anymore. And I'd like to call a monopoly a price setter. You're as strong as like setting the price. But we're going to talk more about this. You're not here. We assume that you're not setting the price directly. It's not, you say you call this $2,000 a diamond, or $2 million a diamond. That's $2 million. It's still dependent on your output decision, right? For instance, let's look at the diamond. From its founding in this year until the mid 20th century, the beer operates as a monopolist in the diamond market. And what they do is they notoriously suppress their output capacity to maintain the price high. So that's what they do. It's not directly they call whatever the price it is. They are utilizing the price quantity relationship, and they create a certain hunger on the consumer side by suppressing their production, right? So that there is a scarcity in the market, and consumers then have to accept their high price. So that's this. And the first of the other two is oligopoly, and it is a market with only a handful of large sellers, and products can be somewhat different or somewhat similar. So each firm in an oligopoly market have a pretty strong market power still. You're not a price taker, but you should think about how your rivals will respond to your choices. That is what we call strategic interaction. For instance, look at the cellular services market. The entire market is mainly occupied by AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and including their derivatives. For instance, crickets, right? Stuff like that. So if Verizon raises its price, it loses some consumer, but not all. And it should also think about, is there a possibility that I can collaborate with Verizon to fight against AT&T, right? So that's strategic interaction. So here, especially in oligopoly model, I won't dive too deep into that. If you still have interest, I encourage you to take my managerial economics, in which I will talk in greater detail about the collaboration that is taking place in oligopoly. So that is something. The first intermediate status. The second one is monopolistic competition, in which a firm with many relatively smaller business is competing, each selling differentiated products. So here, product differentiation, now you know, it is to create consumer loyalty. Consumer, they buy your product. They are stuck with your product for a reason. Why? Your product differs from others. Your product is not the one that is easily found in the market. So then they have to travel far just to get your product, right? So the difference is based on the product themselves, their quality, their brand image, the store location, consumer service, return policy, shipping and packaging, a lot of those things to make sure that consumer will have a good experience, and then they can become loyal, namely inelastic to a product. The more distinct you make your product, namely you render your consumer more inelastic, more loyal, then the more market power you will have. So monopolistic means only one seller making each specific product, and competition meaning there are many. business trying to sell. Okay, and here the example is Apple, jeans. There are different design of jeans. There are different brands of jeans, right? The Levi's is a famous one, for instance, right? So how do they try? Although there are many competitors, still Levi has its profit margin better than any unknown brand jeans brand, right? So Levi here creates certain differentiation. So it's not a generic producer. So that distinguishes monopolistic competition from perfect competition, in which there is no distinguishment at all. You don't care. You don't care about like a pencil producer, right? You don't care about who produces the pencil, as long as this is one that can function. That's okay enough, right? So here, this is a spectrum from perfect competition to imperfect competition, which is the intermediate status, including monopolistic competition and oligopoly, to monopoly. The market power is increasing, right? The inelasticity, the consumer loyalty will increase. The market power increases because the degree of differentiation of the product increases along the spectrum. On the perfect competition, there was none. All goods are identical. And eventually, in monopoly, you're the only one. How distinct you are, right? You can't even find anyone that is comparable to you. So that's basically the idea. And most business operates under the imperfect competitive case rather than the two extreme case. But we mainly learn this two extreme case to have baselines, right? And knowing that the intermediate state, if they have less market power, then they are more similar to perfect competition. If they have a stronger consumer loyalty, then they are closer to monopoly. Okay. So there are 5 key insights into perfect competition. Having more competitors leads to less market power than monopoly. And the more you have, right, the closer this market structure will be similar to perfect competition. So there are certain questions. Are there barriers preventing entry? How strong are these barriers? Right? And we are going to talk about this in the next video as the second part of chapter 14. The market power allows you to pursue independent pricing strategies. It is also pertinent to your own life, right? As we are employees, we are selling our labor and services. And how can we, when do we have a strong negotiation power? How can we dare to ask for a higher price, higher salary from our employers? Well, that's when we are differentiated enough, when they believe our talent cannot be found elsewhere. They have to go to us. Then we have a stronger market power, right? So that's basically the idea. And successful product differentiation gives you more market power. That's the special talent that I'm talking about. That's why you try to build your own competitiveness by becoming differentiated, make a difference, right? So point 4, imperfect competition among buyers gives them bargaining power. When there are a limited number of buyers, then keeping consumers is important. Consumers use their valuable client status to negotiate lower prices as well. Okay. So basically, the idea of bargaining power works both ways. So if you are the seller and if you are the only one, if you create certain scarcity so that buyers, they have to rush to a store, right? Then you have a stronger market power, price power to set the price. And if it is the other way around, if there are a bunch of agriculture producers and trying to reach an agreement with, say, Costco, Walmart, right? Some extinguished buyer that they are willing to develop long-run relationship with, then this buyer who is distinguished, I'm sorry, they have a strong bargaining power. And your best choice depends on the action that other business take, right? Because if you are concerning of losing your consumers to others, then you have to look over your shoulder. Can I dare to increase my price? Do I risk of losing all of my consumers if I do that, right? So that's basically the idea. Now let's move on to the second part. Then how do we set the price for the firm? So here is the thing. If the price is too low, your profit margin disappears. If the price is too high, you risk losing your consumers, you risk losing your sales. So we have to maintain a trade-off. We have to achieve a trade-off between selling a large quantity of items versus making more money on each item you sell. So there are two things to help evaluate this trade-off. The first one is what kind of consumers that you're facing, right? Do you have inelastic consumers who are loyal to your product, so you don't worry about losing too many sales by raising the price? And the second one is marginal revenue curve, which help us to better figuring out the trade-off. And the marginal revenue is the revenue, the return in terms of money that you get from selling each additional unit of product. So that is a more accurate reflection of your gains. So this is the demand. And let's discuss what those demand will be like. When consumers say, if we are under perfect competition where there are many competitors and many buyers and there are identical products and we don't have too much market power, what happens to consumers? How do we determine the slope, the steepness of the demand curve? Well, it will be very flat. Why? Remember, let's recall what we learned in chapter 5, elasticity, right? Elasticity has some implication on steepness, on the slope. So when we have many competitors, that is to say, each consumer, they have a lot of alternatives available, right? And the products are all identical and they have no loyalty to a product. Then what happens? If you raise your price, they can go elsewhere. They don't care about who is the producer. As long as it's a pencil, they're gonna use it, right? So that's basically the idea. Then the consumers are very elastic, and therefore this demand curve is very flat. If you raise your prices even a little, the quantity you sell will be reduced sharply. So here, if the price raises a little bit, the quantity that can be sold will be reduced by a lot. And intermediate status, now we allow for differentiation, then consumers are more inelastic. Levi has a certain group of loyal consumers, right? Kate Spade has a certain group of loyal consumers, right? H&B has a certain group of loyal consumers. It is not extremely loyal they are, but there is a certain degree of loyalty, namely inelasticity. So this demand will be steeper, right? And here, for a firm with lower market power, they will be more similar to the perfect competition case, right? The demand curve will be flatter. For a firm with a higher market power, consumers will be more inelastic. Therefore, this demand will be closer to the vertical case, and perfect vertical case, that's a perfect inelastic case. The last one, there is no competitors. It's just a unique product that consumer cannot find elsewhere in the world. Then consumers are very inelastic. Therefore, the demand curve will be very steep, right? So that reflects those cases. And here, especially, we use the word perfect competition. So this corresponds to the perfectly elastic case. And recall, under perfect competition, each firm is what? Is a price taker, right? So here, this curve is also corresponding to that price taking feature. So the market price is this. So for each firm, no matter how much you sell more, you sell less, it doesn't affect the market price. A Chinese saying goes, an ant cannot shake the tree. So that's basically the idea. Because each firm is so small, like an ant, in comparison to the entire market. You double your your quantity sold, but in comparison to at 100 level, but in comparison to the entire market, which is at billion scale, it's nothing. Then the market price is not affected, right? But you see, as consumers are more inelastic, then the firm is having stronger and stronger market power. So basically, this is what I want to show to you. And this is a good application of what we learned in chapter 5. Thank you very much.